Welcome to the Peak Podcast. We are your hosts, Kyle Nelson and Eli Libby. This podcast is all about your journey fulfillment, where we will be talking to great thought leaders, just like what we have today, and kind of his journey towards fulfillment and some of his thoughts on it. Eli, what's up, man?
Not much, man. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this podcast all day. I said it in the pre-chat. The energy that this guest brings will get you up off your seat.
Yes, he will get the stoke out of you.
Just get ready to roll. Get ready to rumble. So I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to getting into this.
Absolutely. So a little bit about the podcast, just so if you're a new listener, it's very time broken and bound. We have questions. We limit them to about 5 minutes each for the answer. And there's some fire questions in here, some quick icebreakers. Hopefully we'll get Noble nice and comfortable and get him on his feet a little bit with these answers, but it's going to be a good time. So without further ado, here is the EQ gangster, Mr. Noble Gibbons.
What? There he is.
What's up?
I love it. God, that's awesome. I hope people are watching the video. No, real quick, tell me about what's going on with the hand thing. I love it. It pumps me up every time, every call. What's behind it? I just love it.
Man, I've been doing social media and videos and stuff for years, dude. And I like people is my jam, right? People's is my crack, right? Don't do drugs, but like people is like my, and it is just how my love for people shows up, man.
Love it.
That's amazing. Oh, right on. Beautiful. Well, let's get rolling. Let's start off with and this icebreaker just meant to kind of get things flowing. So, Noble, if you were to invite 3 people, living or dead, to a dinner party, who would they be and why?
Jesus, Moses, and David would probably be 3.
Okay.
Yeah, that I would dig. So Jesus, you know, he's an OG. He goes way back, and and way forward, right? He's kind of right there, you know, Alpha and Omega, no big deal. And so, you know, I dig how he rolled in his Doc Martens, right, back in the days, and you know, rocked the toga and stuff like that. So just kind of, you know, having Taco Tuesday with Jesus would be super dope.
That would be a thing, wouldn't it? Right. Just for red wine, we're having tacos.
Right. And then Moses, you know, he grew up 40 years, dude. This Joker grew up in the White House. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the Egyptian White House. So maybe, I don't know what, you know, but if it was white actually, but you know what I'm saying? But White House. So he grew up as you know, in the most powerful house in the area, in the region, right? And then 40 years old, the Joker kills a dude. So now he's like legit felon on the run. For another 4 decades, this Joker is leading sheep, y'all. Sheep. He's rocking his Doc Martens. This dude is out there in the Texas sun, 120 degrees in Arizona, right? Rocking sheep, y'all. And then God busts out the old 911, 411 on the old burning bush ops, right? Yeah. And it's like, hey, bro, you know, you're my guy to lead the nation of Israel out of Egypt. And he's like, I only got you on 1 bar, bro. You're coming in broken and distorted. I'm not your guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, exactly. And then David, the reason I dig David like a shovel is because David is a joker, man. This guy, he was jacked up from the floor up, but God still said, this is a dude after my own heart, even after the truckload of bad decisions that dude, and plus he's a warrior, you know, he's beast mode, you know, he smoked Goliath like a cheap cigar, like Pusher Sweets, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Come on, man. So anyway, those are my 3 amigos.
Love it.
That's amazing.
Thank you for adding so much color to that as well. That was awesome, man.
That was incredible.
Quick question. Introduce yourself. Who are you? And what is your background? What are you doing today? In under 2.5 minutes.
I was born at an early age.
Okay.
All
Most of us are. I was like, what?
I was waiting for the joke grenade to go off. That's a good dad joke right there, y'all. That kind of
I love it.
Oh, yeah, most of us are. Okay, next.
was so good. Okay, and so Noble, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a former military guy, and then did military for a handful of years, and then it was in a business cult for 20 some years. Did very well in said business cult. Spoke all over the world. Financially independent at age 30. Spoke to tens of thousands of people, and then started to get emotionally healthy, and through therapy, coaching, counseling, ended up getting emotionally healthier and started a podcast, YouTube channel, and business called EQ Gangster, where I help work with leaders get their emotions working for them instead of against them.
That's so awesome. The whole EQ movement. I mean, that is such a powerful thing you're doing. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your service as well. I'm just excited to see where you go with everything. So before we jump into the meat of the content, let's throw one more question out there. And it's, again, two minute timer here. When was there a time in your personal or professional life where you overcame adversity? I know that's a big question. How would you?
So 5 days ago, I almost ended it. And by God's grace, was able to work through stuff through a series of different steps. Through a series of different steps to help me come off of being emotionally hijacked and emotionally triggered, and eventually was able to get to a place of calm where then I was able to talk through it and kind of work through stuff. So anyway, very recent.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So we're going to dive in now to the meat of our podcast. And again, we are all about fulfillment, finding that fulfillment. And we ask the same 4 questions so that you guys get a good understanding of how these thought leaders answer the same exact questions. It creates consistency, patterns, and you guys can start picking up little nuggets. So as we dive into the core of our podcast today, Noble, how do you define fulfillment?
That's a great question. So
It's only a little loaded.
So I've been actively working on my EQ, my emotional intelligence now for the past 4 to 5 years, and still growing my self-awareness and stuff. So fulfillment is an emotion that I don't know that I am very familiar with, to be totally transparent with you. I'm more familiar with a cousin, an emotional cousin to fulfillment, which I think might be significance. I'm a little bit more familiar with the emotion of significance than I am fulfillment. So what makes me feel significant and maybe fulfilled is helping leaders transform their lives through becoming emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally healthier to be the best version of themselves.
That's
Love
amazing.
It. A lot of people say that about fulfillment. We get asked, your coaching company, your podcast, it's all fulfillment based. Well, what does that mean? What does it look like? And a lot of people, when we ask that question, it really comes down to balance in life. And Tony Robbins, in one of his speeches or books or something, we read that people get success and fulfillment mixed up. Right. You think success will bring you fulfillment, but typically success is monetary. There's money involved. There's a certain position you have. And so, success is getting what you want. But the way we look at fulfillment is living for what you're made for. Right. Whatever your God-given purpose was, whatever he handed you and said, you know what, Noble, this is what I want you to do. And once you understand that and can start walking towards or running towards your North Star, you'll start feeling that fulfillment, because you'll see prophecies that you came out with will start to actually happen through the work that you're doing. So
I dig that like a backhoe. So success for me though is for me, success is pursuit. It's not, I've done some of the money thing a little bit. Like I've never been a zillionaire, but like I've worked with and have friends that are zillionaires, and it doesn't seem like money like is
Typically
the
not
answer.
fulfillment. No.
You know what I mean? So anyway, success for me is like, am I actively pursuing the life that God has for me with the failures and the wins?
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it. I love it.
Love that. If real quick, I'm going to go slightly off script. How do you define, because the EQ Gangster, how do you define emotional intelligence for our audience? I feel like your definition may be way more accelerated than most people here. So how would you define emotional intelligence?
So
And
excellent.
how do you define your program? Yeah.
Excellent question. So I use Daniel Goleman's, one of his original models. So now EQ is not new. It's becoming mainstream, but it's not new. I mean, it's been out for maybe 4 or 5 decades. Daniel Goleman is one of the OGs. So his original model, there's a lot of models out there now, but his original model is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and social management. Now, you can also call social awareness and social management, I've heard him said, others awareness, others management, or relational awareness, relational management, but it's self and others awareness and management. That's the original model that I like to start off with. My working definition is the ability to acknowledge, identify, process, and manage not only my emotions, but the emotions of others in order to make the best decision for all parties involved.
That's awesome.
Wow. Man, it's deep. Man.
So back onto script.
Yeah.
If you had to pin down some self-care practices that you've used in your life when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling chaotic, maybe like you said, it was a system 5 days ago where you were close to calling it a day. What are those practices? What are things that that you found that work for you that may help others?
Okay. I've got, so in my world, in my space, I'm hardcore about tools and practical application. Because for me, when I started this journey, we the three of us had a conversation a week or two ago. Old guys like me, Gen Xers and older, many of us, emotional intelligence is super scary. It's an unknown language. Your guys' generation, you guys kind of grew up around it, so it's not as scary and intimidating. It's very scary and intimidating to guys like me. And so I'm all about practical tools. And so I've got a few tools I'm going to share with you guys. One is, it's called Gorilla Aped. Gorilla Aped. The G stands for gratitude. The first thing, in fact, and I didn't get to it right away, but really in my emotional hijack, where I was just emotional hijack 5 days ago, in a really, really bad, dark, scary place. I didn't do it right away, but at some point in that arc of me being in a very, very bad spot, one of the things I did was, Noble, I've got a truckload of stuff to be grateful for. Just shut up, stop thinking, and start vomiting all the things that you're grateful for.
Yes.
And there's a couple reasons for that. There's a couple psychological reasons for that, for gratitude. One is, I heard Tony Robbins say this, you can't have gratitude and be grateful and angry and in a rage at the same time. It's physiologically, like the brain doesn't do both of those emotions at the same time. You can either have gratitude and being grateful, or you can be in a rage and be angry. You can't do both. So I'm like, okay, I've got to force myself. And I wrote down stupid stuff too, like eyebrows, fingernails, fingers, nose hair, beards, right? Like not just like, oh, family and happiness and joy. Like I want to be super granular. Plus, again, there's a physiological reason for getting granular too. So the physiological reason is, if I can get my emotional part of my brain not in charge, it needs to get back in balance with my logical side of my brain. If the emotions take over, emotions make a terrible driver. They make a terrible master, right? So I want to get them in balance. Well, it's hard when you start getting granular, you're getting reason and logic back involved into that conversation with your emotional
really
side
good.
of your brain.
Yeah.
So there's a physiological reason why gratitude is important. Okay, so that's gratitude. The next thing with the aped, APED, gorilla aped. A is acknowledge.
Okay.
Literally write down a list of the emotions that you're feeling in that moment. Now, again, for guys like me that I knew 3 or 4 emotion words. I knew angry, happy, sad, and mad. That was all the emotion words I knew 4 or 5 years ago. So I Google emotion wheel, and there will be an emotion wheel that will pop up. You can print it out. So when you feel emotionally hijacked, emotionally triggered for my mental health stuff, boom. So gorilla practice gratitude, then acknowledge the emotions that I'm feeling. I'll use that cheat sheet to help me,
Man.
because the brain loves nuance and needs nuance, because 9 times out of 9.5, it's not just one emotion. There's multiple emotions, and most people can't identify the nuances of our emotions. So acknowledge your emotion. Like write a list down. P, and I've got a whole process for that, but I don't have time right now. P, so acknowledge. P is permission. Give yourself permission to feel the top emotions that you feel, like on a scale from 1 to 10 or 9s and 10s. Give yourself permission to actually, it takes the body and the mind 60 to 90 seconds to process the fullness of an emotion. So I set my alarm, literally set my alarm, and I'll feel angry for 60 seconds. Nothing but anger, nothing, no other emotion but anger. The alarm goes off. My next one is rejection. I felt rejection. I'm going to feel nothing but rejection for 60 seconds.
Wow.
Alarm goes off. The next one is disappointment. I feel nothing but disappointment for 60 seconds. What you're doing is you're allowing your head, your heart, and your body to massage those emotional knots that you're feeling. That's what permission to feel is. Then the last one, the last two is E, is express. Express through writing. Physiologically, there's a lot of research on this. Physiologically, it improves mental health when you journal 2 things. Not just journal your thoughts, and not just journal your emotions. Journaling both thoughts and emotions actually increases mental health by some percentage. I don't remember the research, but it's got to be both thoughts and emotions. And then the last one is D, is discuss. Find a safe, supportive, encouraging homie or community that you can discuss what you're feeling.
That is gold.
That is gold.
I hope there's one thing I learn every day. That was probably worth a whole year or a lifetime. That was amazing, Noble. Thank you so much for that. And I think that's gonna make ripples in the community once people understand that. For sure, in my own life.
Agree. Absolutely. I think permission was the one thing I took out. I think you're taught to try and like wrap a positive bow around what you're doing, but it is helpful to take that time. I love massage the knot. That was really, really impactful for me, and that's going to stick. So what is a consistent daily practice that you practice or do to drive productivity for your business, for you, daily?
Okay, a couple things. You can't change what you don't track.
Okay.
You can't manage what you're not aware of.
Yep.
So for me, something that I have just been doing the last 2 or 3 weeks to get traction back in my own life, I used to do this for a decade, probably 10 or 15 years of tracking some daily habits, because I just started to I was just kind of, I hit a plateau. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Right. I can't change what I don't track, and I can't manage what I'm not aware of. So I'm going to start tracking those behaviors in those areas of my life that are important to me. And I don't shoot for perfection every day. I shoot for progress. I want to develop. I want to get to a place back in my life where I believe myself, where I honor my own word.
Yep.
It's hard to trust somebody else if I don't trust myself. And if I keep lying to myself that I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I'm reinforcing lying and a false self, which is not healthy for our mental, emotional health, not helpful for authenticity and genuineness and stuff either. So for me, I've got a few categories, and I'm gonna read this off to you guys. Let's see. I'm going to just read off the areas
For it.
because I'm all about transparency. And so here are the areas. I'm coming off screen here for a second. So I'm reading off. So I've got main areas are faith, physical, mental, emotional, social, and business are my categories. So faith, I've got to read my Bible every day, and I've got coaching once a week with a pastor. Physical, I can do a cold shower every day, weights, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, push-ups. I'm adding more protein into my meal, vitamins twice a day, walking every day, fasting also is something I'm working on. Mental and emotional, the Clarity app. It's not mine.
Yep.
I'm not paid for it, whatever, but that's one I use. Again, journaling every day, reading every day, building a fire. I'm a big, in the military. We call it the Ranger TV. There's something about fires, building it, prepping it, building it, and then sitting there and enjoying it. And it's just, I do some great thinking. It's great for my mental health to just stare at a fire. I get some deep thoughts, maybe even have my journal out there. And then social is I want to meet with homies at least once a week. And that's a whole nother area that I'm really working on being more intentional at. The older I get is intentionally rebuilding a tribe of people that I want to kind of grow with. And then the last one is business. And that's, we're a part of the group Coach Nation.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. Thanks for breaking that down. That's super impactful. It's funny in our program, we talk about how men kind of have these 7 pillars of fulfillment. And if they can charge all of those batteries and create balance, that creates fulfillment, or at least puts you on the path and that pursuit of fulfillment that you talked about before, kind of deeming success. And you hit on most of the ones that we talk about, all of your kind of buckets of things that you're working on. So that was right in line with what we talk about.
Wanted to jump in real quick when you were talking about all the habits that you're tracking and you looked over the time. To me, it kind of sounds like you're doing some like pattern recognition, right? You're looking at things where you can make improvements on, and things that maybe, that you find like, this is awesome, I got to work on this. And that's something we definitely talk about a lot, but that was cool just naturally seeing it just through you just saying, hey, I'm just tracking habits and seeing where I can learn. So
absolutely.
This last question to wrap. Oh, what was that? Mr.
I'm
Eli?
sorry. I just wanted to jump in one quick. Noble, have you thought about tracking fun? Have you thought about baking and bringing fun into your tracking? And because if you don't prioritize, again, like you said, if you don't manage and track, have you ever thought about baking that in, kind of part of your like mental psyche and health?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. So for me, and I haven't defined it that way, but that's great. That's great. So my homies time for me is fun, and my Brazilian jiu-jitsu time for me would be considered fun, and then also my fire time is fun, and then I would also throw in there. I'm not tracking this, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to add in my mix. Is doing Mexican restaurants with my homies. That's my happy place. I've got a taco tattoo. What tacos? Yeah. What?
Let's go.
Nice.
So,
very cool.
But that's a great question.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Awesome.
So to wrap it up, this is the throat punch, as you say. Noble, you said that on a lot of calls that we've been on. It's a hard one to think about. What is your purpose, right? Why do you think you're on this earth? And if we're all on that journey. It's hard to figure out what our purpose is, right? But if you had to say what your purpose is, or what's the North Star you're running towards, what is that? And was there a defining moment in your life, an aha moment that you're like, this is it right here?
To glorify God through, raising my daughter, being, my family, and developing leaders is my purpose. So family and leaders is that's my wheelhouse. In terms of the aha moment, it has been, honestly, it's been a journey of self-discovery. The more, which is again back to EQ and self-awareness. In my opinion, I think it would be it is very hard to discover one's purpose the more self-awareness you lack, right? If you lack to discover your purpose, or it's going to be harder, or it's going to take a lot longer, versus the more self-aware you are. And in my opinion, right, for me, it's my faith too. So the more I'm dialed into the Lord, my spiritual intelligence and my self-awareness, I think the combination of those can really help guide me into those things that create fulfillment and purpose.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool to see that you mentioned self-discovery, and through self-discovery, you need that strong tool of self-awareness. They totally come hand in hand, and it's a tool that we're always sharpening, right? You don't really master those things in life, because through self-discovery and through self-awareness, like those two, the more you practice those, they come to the forward. Like, I'll be having conversations with people, and like the word like self-awareness in the moment will come to my mind, because I need to be like, okay, I'm feeling this emotion quickly. What is it? And like, I'll be like, okay, self-awareness. What does that mean real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to feel how my behaviors are at this moment, how my reaction is, or what it might be, and how I change that in this moment. So that's huge.
And if I could just do one quick hack on discovering your purpose and maybe self-discovery, self-awareness, is leaning into adversity and valleys. Like, rather than, I used to run away from adversity, run away from tension, conflict, adversity, because I was scared of it. But my therapist said, Noble, how are you doing today? And this is 4 or 5 years ago when I started this journey. And I said, I'm terrible. I'm in a valley. Can you give me 3 points on how to get out of this valley? He said, why? I said, I don't understand your question. What do you mean, why? I'm like, he's like, why would I give you 3 points to get out of your valley? I'm like, dude, am I getting punked right now? Like, I'm in a valley. I want to get out of my valley. He said, why do you want to get out of your valley? I'm like, bro, by definition, it's a freaking valley. That means it's bad and you don't want to get out of it. He said, you just add a lot of narrative to a valley. He's like, why does it have to be a bad thing? What if God wants to teach you a lesson in the valley? And until you learn that lesson, you're going to either stay in it or you're going to go back into it the next day, next week, because you haven't learned a lesson yet. So now I'm trying to lean into my valleys and use them as a professor, as a university, and learn and grow as much as I can from the valleys when they come.
That is a very self-aware move.
So much insight. So much insight.
It is. It absolutely is. Wow. Well,
cool.
That was incredible. Go ahead.
Yeah. We appreciate your time, Noble, and all the great insight nuggets that you've given us. This is your moment. Go ahead and pitch yourself. Let them know where they can find you, what exactly, and the exact person you're looking for to help, and what you can do for them.
So EQGangster.com is the website. EQ Gangster is the podcast and the YouTube and stuff. So I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm probably the person, the leader, whatever, the dude, the women too. I've got a lot of women that I work with as well, that is newer in their journey. So somebody that's maybe been on their self-discovery or emotional intelligence journey for a decade, you're probably way past where I'm at. So I'm probably like that entry point of someone's journey where, man, this EQ stuff is kind of new to me. Self-awareness stuff is kind of new to me. That's kind of probably, I'm kind of that person's, maybe a good beginner of 1 or 2 different type of resources that may could add value.
Awesome. Well, that's perfect. So yeah, check out EQ Gangster. We'll put that, or EQGangster.com. We'll put that in the show notes below.
Well, Noble, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you, and we'll definitely have you on down the road.
So grateful for you both. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you both and all that you're doing for the community.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Peak Podcast. If you don't know about us, you can find us at peakfulfillmentcoaching.com. We run a group coach program for male entrepreneurs to help them create a balanced lifestyle through being self-aware of those limiting beliefs that are stopping us and holding us back from reaching your potential. So if you're looking to reach your potential, if you have some limited beliefs that you're like, man, I can't do that, and you're looking for some balance and you're struggling in a certain area, hit us up at peakfulfillmentcoaching.com. That's it for now. I'm Kyle, my host, Eli Libby, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you on the next Peak Podcast.
See you guys.